Hey guys, welcome back and thank you for joining us here again. If this is your first time also watching this, just want you to know this is a project called Friends Who Worship. So Friends Who Worship it's a project that a couple of us just got together and just with the simple desire of just wanting to get together and just worship together and just exalt Christ in everything that he does. So we just had this idea that as we progress, we wanted to kind of drop videos of us just kind of sharing our testimonies and who we are and just kind of share what the Lord has done in our lives and how do we get to this point where we are right now as a friends, as a team. And yeah, so I guess I can start with let's start with day one then. So my name is Douglas Elias Videa the second. Yeah, a lot of people don't really know my first name, so this is the first reveal for a lot of people. I grew up in Opalaca. I grew up with Hispanic parents. Both my mother and father immigrated from Nicaragua, and they were 19 and 20. They came here, and honestly, they gave me and my siblings a really good life. My father was a musician. My father served in the church, and he played guitar. And then his father was the founder of the Assemblies of God. So growing up, church was always very, very centered in our lives. And growing up, music was also very important in our own lives and the way we grew up. My dad always played guitar, and growing up, I was always fascinated by the way he played. And he always had music just playing around. So like his music, so like growing up, like I just heard a lot of Chicago, Eagles, like Bee Gees, Cat Stevens in particular, but there was always just music being played around, and that always fascinated us, me and my siblings. I grew up right around where the church we were at is called the Iglesia Bethesda. It was like 3 minutes away, and it was at a walking distance. So most of the time, like whenever we needed to go, like we would just always be able to walk. And growing up there, it was good. I had a good childhood there. I didn't accept the Lord until I was 13, when I personally decided to start pursuing him more. I remember one day, like I just sat down, because like growing up, I always just kind of heard about who God is and everything that he is, but I didn't know him personally. And I remember one day I just decided to just seek that. I had to talk with my dad about it, and he was just telling me like, hey, like I hear this all the time that we meet up every day to talk about God. We talk about Jesus. Like, what is this about? What did he do? And he just tells me everything. Like, he saved you. He gave you life, and explains to me the cross, the meaning behind it, and what it represents. And because the cross it's just the fact that it just represents freedom. And he just told me like, you're free because of him. And when I was 13, like I just remember like, you know what, like I want this. I want to have Christ as my savior. And I gave my life to the Lord. But then as time progressed, like that same year, I started to kind of wonder, okay, what's next for me from here? Because growing up in the church, like I didn't want to just be a spectator. I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to be involved in one way or another. And I remember my first youth camp. I go, and the Lord called me for that. Like I was just on the altar just praying to God, like what am I gonna do? What is the next thing that I want? Like what is the next thing that you want me to do? What is the path that I need to pursue? And I remember just looking at the stage, and it just called me. I'm like, you know what, like music is what you've always kind of put in my heart. Because as a kid, I've always just been attracted to music. I've always been attracted to sound. I've always been attracted to the idea of you can create, the fact that a sound can create such a beautiful piece. Sounds, rhythms, and all those things kind of create its own art form. And as a kid, that's always attracted me, and I've always pursued that. So I remember when I found out that that's what I wanted, like as soon as I got home, I begged my dad. I'm like, Dad, I want to learn how to play the drums. Like I just want to get into this. And it's interesting because he goes to me like, oh, like, but I play guitar. Why do you want to play drums? And for some reason, the drums just always caught my attention, and it's because of Nirvana's Nevermind. That record, for some reason, like when I first heard it, like particularly Smells Like Teen Spirit, I just fell in love with the sound of the drums and the aggression that it just carries with it. Because that song in particular, like it kind of levels out. We're like, okay, like you can. I think it's the first time I've kind of learned about dynamics, because like there's portions where like it's kind of mellow, but then it just comes out with full aggression. And to be honest, that's a sound that to this day I still like to do on the drums, where there's moments where like dynamics you can control it, but like I just love that, the feeling of being able to just, okay, this time it's time to cut loose and let's go. So I remember like as soon as I just got home, like I talked to him, and then he introduces me to a professor named Jose Marquez, and he's an amazing man of God. Like he is just devoted to the Lord. He teaches music, and as soon as every Monday, like as soon as I got out of school, like I would be so excited to just, hey, like just go drive over there and learn. And I just wanted to pick it up so badly. Like I was just obsessed with just trying to be good. Like I just wanted to know what was I doing already. And I would say that's where chapter 1 of my life begins, because I've always said that my life is, I always divide it into like 5 chapters. So I would say chapter 1 was just me being the student, of me just wanting to learn how to do this and how to do it for God. And then a year into trying to learn, like that's when I decided, hey, you know what, let me join the worship team, let me get parts of it. And then the worship leader we had at the time, amazing leader, he honestly taught me how to really play along with a band, and we just started worshiping God, and it was an amazing. And as I got older, like I started picking up other things in between, because while I was studying drums, my dad made me study piano as well, and I didn't want to at first, because I'm like, it's piano, I didn't really care about it. But then he told me like, no, like I want you to do this because it's going to come in handy as you get older. And it did, because it taught me about progressions, chords, and all those things that you need to play music. And then around 15 is when I kind of picked up the bass, and then around 17, like, is when I kind of really started to finally pursue the guitar. And honestly, anything else I can just kind of get my hands on, just because I love the concept of music, and how, like I said, it's an art form where each individual thing, like if it's a drum, it's a bass, it's a guitar, a piano, anything, even a voice, like the fact that all these different sounds can get together and just create this art, this, in a way, an offering that you just give to God. I've always just fell in love with that concept, and I've always just wanted to just, in a way, be the Iron Man or the Swiss Army knife of any team, where if something is needed, I can always fill that in. And that's a practice that even to this day I still do, where if somebody needs something, I'm always able to just kind of fill in between. And that's where chapter 2 of my life begins. And I've always kind of called that chapter the best in the world, not because I feel like I'm the best, but I just strove to be the best at my craft. Where when I wasn't in church, I was just watching videos or watching just people, or just trying to take in as much knowledge as I can just to be great at what I'm doing. And I just didn't want to feel like, because it was for God, like I don't want you to feel like I'm slacking, and I want to give you my best. But I feel like that chapter began because there was this one opportunity I had. I was 14 at the time, and I was just 1 year already into the worship ministry. And my church gets invited to go play at another church. And as a kid, you get excited. You're like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Like, you get to go do something else at another place. And I remember during the, like after the calling and everything, they just go to me like, oh, hey, so like for the calling, this guy's going to come up and he's going to play the drums. And I was upset. Like I was upset when that happened. Like I was quiet the whole day. And then I remember I looked at myself in the mirror that night, and I told myself, this will never happen to me again. Where if it's fourth quarter, I'm going to be the one sitting down. I told myself this will never happen to me again. And then that's when I really started to push myself to want to be great. But in a way, when you kind of are focusing on one thing so much, you kind of lose focus on what's this important. And around 19, I would say this is when I started kind of lacking in my spirit and lacking in just knowing about the Word of God and wanting to have a deep relationship with Him. Like I felt for a while that like I knew who God was, and we had this relationship, but we were not. I didn't feel like I was really going to Him as much. So then 19 is when I would say my life kind of starts turning the other direction. So I run into a situation, and this situation just kind of, in a way, just kind of pushes me away from God. And for about maybe like a year and a half, I just stopped following the ways of. I didn't stop following the ways of God, and I started falling deep into sin, and things that I'm not very proud of, things that even to this day I still feel the regret and I still feel the weight of the things I was doing. And around this time frame is when I even started. I stepped away from the team for a while, and I would even say like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna be there because of work reasons," but it was mostly because I did not want to be on a stage and disrespect the altar of how can you be up here and your life you're living is not the correct one. And I was doing that for so long, and around that time frame, like I was just feeling so ashamed of myself. Started to kind of get a lot of depression, even suicidal thoughts, because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. I wasn't doing the things of God. And then one day God just calls me back in the most like aggressive way possible for me. So I almost get shot. So what happens is, and that around that time frame, I was managing a Family Dollar, and there was this one night where there was a robbery in place. So the guy comes in and he robs the store, and during that time frame, like he had the gun like right here on my chest, and then like as we're walking to the safe, like he had it like right here at the top of my head. And I remember just feeling the gun like right here in my noggin, and I remember at that time frame, like, oh wow, that was 10 years ago. But like I remember that when that happened, like it's true what they say. When you are about to experience death, or you feel like you're about to die, your life does flash before your eyes, and you start thinking about the things that a lot of things just start coming to your head. The people that you're not going to see anymore. Like my first nephew was just born like maybe 2 months prior, and I just started thinking to myself, I'm not going to see this kid grow up. And there's just people at the time frame that I wasn't speaking to them. I didn't make amends with those people. But the worst thing that was just in my head, I'm like, where's my spirit going to go after this? God, if you just take me right now, like, what am I going to tell you? What's going to happen to me? And spoiler, I didn't die. I'm right here. But like that moment, I remember just going to my house, and I just broke down crying to God, saying, okay, God, like this is what you have to do for me to just kind of come back to you. Then all right, so be it, God. I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to rededicate my life to you. And around that time frame too, like I still wasn't really playing anymore. But I remember this one moment where I get this call from an old friend of mine, and he was telling me, hey, there's this opportunity to do some worship with Freddie Rodriguez. And I recommended you if you wanted to do it. And at first I was like, nah, I don't want to do it, because I'm like, I don't feel my soul is good at the moment. And he was telling me like, no, you got this, man. And then we do the event, and the whole time there, I'm just a wreck. Like I'm just nervous. Like I'm just there, and the whole time we're doing the rehearsal. I'm just there like, hey, like, was that good? Hey, was that good? Hey, was that good? Like, hey, do you want me to do something else? Hey, do you want me to do something else? And then Freddie just tells me, hey, yo, relax, like stop. And he's like, bro, like you're overthinking, bro. Just worship God. That's all I want you to do. That's all we got to do. That's all we're here to do is worship God. That's all we're gonna come here to do right now. Worship God with the congregation. And that became the start of a, I would say, in a way, a 10-year journey that I'm still in right now, where after that, like, I just felt the love of God, and I just continue to pursue that, and I've never felt away from it since, because I know what it's like to just, like, I know the feeling of having this and then just lose it and then just work and work and work to just kind of gain it right back. And then that's where I would say chapter 3 of my life begins, which is just being the workhorse and a teacher in a way. Because in that lifespan, like, I just started from like my entire 20s. After that, I spent most of it just honestly just serving and playing. Because then after the Freddie Rodriguez thing happens, I get all these random calls of like, hey, yo, hey, we need some drums for this thing. Are you in? Hey, we need this bass. Hey, we need this guitar. Hey, we need this. And I spent most of my 20s just serving in that multitude. And it's been amazing, and it's been a blessing. Like, I've had the privilege of serving in so many places in Miami. I've seen a lot of places in Miami. I've been able to just go out of state, like North Carolina, for example. I've been to Georgia. Even outside the country, I've been able to do this privilege as well. And it's been amazing. And then I started doing that for a while. And then we go into, I guess, chapter 4, where I would call it what would I phrase it? In a way, I would call it like almost like a reshift. Because I felt that God just told me at that time, like, God was just kind of seeing my life at the time. He was like, okay, like, you're kind of having all this going on. I need you to now reshift these things back to me, and we're going to do all these things now. All these things are going to happen that are going to make you lean towards me and make you remember what are you doing this for. So then this is when situations happened, and I had to leave the church that I was a member of for like 20 years or so, something like that. But I had to leave my church, and I had to kind of find myself. And at the moment, it was very scary, because I felt God called me to do other things, and I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable for a long time. And I remember after I left, I joined this one church, for a church that was starting up for a year, with a very good friend of mine. That it's amazing. God is still calling. He's still doing great things right now. And I remember joining that place, and honestly, like, in my heart, I always felt that I was never gonna be there forever. But it kept me busy in the meantime. And one of the things it taught me was just, it really taught me how to become very intimate with my worship, because a lot of the times it was just mostly like acoustic guitar, me voice and piano. And I made a really good friend during that process, which she's still around. And during that time frame also is when I started doing other projects. I had a band at the time, the amazing group of people that, again, God also called us just to do amazing things. We were able to help out so many people. Particularly, there was this one moment that it still stays in my heart, and it was this worship event that we got called to do, because the church was literally at the brink of closing, and they wanted to conclude it. They wanted to just like conclude everything that they did with just a worship night. And that worship night was awesome, but it also sucked because we were not told it was a worship night. So when we came in with a 5-song set list. They told us, oh yeah, it's gonna be a worship night and this, and I'm like, oh well, nobody told us that. And I'm like, okay, sure, we can stretch this out. So I'm like, okay, how can we, like, how long does this set have to be? Oh, we told everybody it's gonna be like at least 2 hours. So I'm like, okay, so how do we make how do we stretch out 5 songs for 2 hours? And the Lord prevailed, and again, God just used us that day. And the amazing part is that after that day, like, it just motivated everybody, like, hey, like, we can't, the church cannot close down. God's doors will not close. And that church is still standing to this day. And this was already like maybe 7 years ago. So that is amazing to see what God has been doing. And then this is where things kind of start shifting in my life. So the more I kept moving, my health started to get bad. And one day, well, as I progressed, like, I started noticing little things, like my knee would start acting up, or my ankle, or maybe my shoulder. But I would just say, you know what, like, I'm okay, because around that time frame, I had this mindset that I was invincible, and I felt that I was invincible, and I kind of kept that attitude of like, I can do this all day, I can keep going, until one day I wake up and everything hurts. My knees are in this aggressive pain, my ankles, my back, my shoulders, my elbow, everything just, I couldn't get up. And I was freaking out because I'm like, God, what's going on? What's happening? And then I find out that I developed this muscle virus, which is I'm not even know what the name of it yet was, but basically it's something that, like, it just makes all your joints just hurt. And I remember that when I was in the hospital and they were asking me about, like, my routine of my life at the time, they were telling me, okay, like, how often do you sleep? I'm like, I sleep like maybe 6 hours, 5-6 hours a week, 5-6 hours a day. And then they're like, okay, what's your work schedule like? My work schedule, I work from Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. And as soon as I get out of that, I'm doing these projects and I'm moving, and I'm always on the move. And okay, how's your diet like? I'm like, I'm barely in my house, so, like, I don't really have home cooked meals. Like, I'm always just going in between, grabbing fast food and learning to eat in my car while I'm driving, and even changing my clothes while I'm driving. And they told me, like, okay, I think it's a case of just your body, just you overworking your body so much that it just shut down and you just overworked yourself. And I remember that moment, like, when the doctors told me, like, you need to change your routine because you're not 21 anymore. That just struck a chord. That struck a chord in my heart, because I'm like, I'm not 21 anymore. And they made me just kind of switch my diet. So and also in that time frame, they told me, like, okay, in the meantime, you can't do anything. Like, we don't recommend that you play, serve, but just take this moment to just rest your body, because your body needs rest right now. And I did that. And I remember I just felt so uncomfortable because I'm not used to not doing anything. I'm not used to just kind of staying still. I don't like staying still. I don't like it. And during that time frame, like, I really started feeling this depression, because I just had, every morning it would just hurt so much, and I would have to take painkillers to literally, I'll have to take heavy, very heavy painkillers, take them, wait until they kick in, then I'm able to function. And then from there, each painkiller that I was taking, like, they were like these painkillers from Nicaragua, I don't know what they're called, just call them motherland pills. But every time I would take them, they would only last me maybe about 8 hours or so. So once the 8 hours were up, I would kind of start feeling my body break down again. So I have to take another one. And I remember that at that time frame, like, I just had this fear that, what if this is something that I can't fix? What if this is something that's going to stay in me forever? And I remember I used to go to sleep afraid, because I was afraid of the idea of just waking up and knowing that pain was going to come back. And I remember that's when, like, I had the most deepest prayers. And I would just pray to God, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me, God? Like, and I remember that one day I had this conversation with my sister, and we were just talking about it, and she was just telling me like, yo, like, Elias, like, you just don't, like, you're just not functioning properly, not right now. Like, your mindset is not good right now. Like, you just feel, you just walk and treat yourself very defeated. And I told her, I'm like, the idea of not being able to worship scares me. The idea of not being able to do what I love scares me. And then she just simply just told me, so if you can't worship, does that mean you can't worship? And that really just struck a chord, like, right in my heart. And it reminded me myself that, okay, maybe God did this to remind me that worship can't be my worship, but to remember that what I do is to serve the Lord, that before anything I am a servant, and what God has given me is what I am using to serve his kingdom. And at the end of the day, my relationship with God needs to be the center. My relationship with Jesus Christ is the center of my life. Everything else I do is cool, and I love it. I'm grateful for it, but it's not my identity. My identity is through Jesus Christ. My life runs through Jesus Christ. And by the grace of God, I start feeling better and better, until one day, the moment I stopped thinking about it is the one day that I realized, hey, like, when did it stop? When did the pain go away? And it's something that even to this day, like, anybody who just knows me, anybody who just sees me, on any time I get the opportunity to serve, like, I always just come in with this energy of excitement, this energy of just like, yo, let's go. Because I am grateful for every opportunity I get to worship, because every opportunity I have is because God gave it to me. The fact that I get to worship, the fact that even this right now, like, with friends who worship, the fact that I get to do any of this, it's a gift from God, because he has allowed me to do this, because he gave this back to me, and I'm grateful for that. And then this is where I guess chapter 5 of my life would begin, and it's just a lot of things. But so I become a member. Well, I walk into Elevate Church for the first time, and I was excited when I came in, because when I was walking into Elevate, my mindset was just, okay, I just want a place where I can receive the word. I don't really want to have serving be the main reason I'm here. And I got excited because when I got there, I saw that they have a full established team. They have a full rotation. And I was there, and I remember telling myself, like, these guys don't need me at all. They don't need me. If I don't have to do a single thing here, and they'll be fine. And that's when I remember the second time I went to Elevate, I remember I prayed. I'm like, okay, God, if the word makes me come back, then I think this is where I want to be. Because the idea of the fact that you're not they don't need you, it's amazing. Because not being needed is good in a good way. Like, what I mean by that is that, because before that, every place I was at, it was very like, every Sunday, if you were, example, the person who played the drums, you were the sole person who played the drums. If you were the one vocalist, you were that sole vocalist. So it was like in every Sunday routine. And burnouts do exist. You can get burned out, and you can create this, in a way, you can kind of start feeling like worship could be a chore, and you start losing that reason why you go. And when I went to Elevate, my goal was to be spiritually fed and to let the word of God feed me. So I remember I started going, and then I would go back. I'm like, okay, I kept going back until one day I'm like, you know what? In April, I'm like, you know what? Let me just become a member of this church. And I became a member, but I didn't serve yet. I still didn't motivate. I wasn't ready to serve yet, just because I felt that God still didn't want me to do anything yet, but just sit down and just receive and just enjoy. And that's when I got very close with the worship leader at the time, and we would just have these amazing conversations of worship, these amazing conversations. And eventually, when I decided to pull the trigger, that journey was amazing too, because the way that he just kind of, because I went up to him and I'm like, hey, okay, remember how we've been talking about this? I'm ready. And then he goes to me, okay, come back next week and ask me again. I'm like, what? And he's like, but while you're doing that, like while in that week before you come again, I want you to pray about it, and I'll even encourage you to fast to see if this is what you want to do. And I was like, yeah, of course, I know this is what I want to do. But in that week that I just sat down and prayed to God, it just reminded me again of just remember how at the end of the day, this is for God, and what I'm doing is to serve God. And then we start the process, and I just, it was an amazing process with him, like in every conversation and everything. And then December 24th happens. My close friend dies, and this individual, we knew each other for years. We served together before that, and we did a lot of projects together outside of church. We did a lot of music together. We had so much in common, and we got close. We were like brothers. Like, we even worked together for 4 years. We've worked together for 4 years, Monday through Saturday, and then we served together on Sundays. So this individual, I saw him every day for the last 4 years. And I remember when I first got to Elevate, I remember talking to him about it, like, hey, I think I'm gonna join this church. And he would tell me, no, go ahead, see what happens. And then I remember when I told him, like, yo, like, I think I'm gonna join the worship team. And he was like, oh, for real? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, but I'm excited about joining this team because everybody here is really good at what they're doing, to the point where I'm like, I probably suck compared to them. So like, maybe I might not even be good enough to be part of this team. And that got me excited because it motivated me. And then he just started to just motivate me. After every practice, we'll just talk about it at work. And how'd you do? I feel like this. No, you got this. And then he would just tell me like, oh, the first day you serve at Elevate, I'm going to be there. And then he dies in an accident, and my life just shakes again. Like, everything just felt different. That even to this day, I feel like that situation just changed me completely as a character. Like, and it's just hard to grieve over a friend that he was so young, because he was only like 20. He was only 23. So it's disappointing because he has so many ambitions, he has so many dreams, things that he wanted to accomplish, and I wanted to see him achieve those dreams, because the same way he always supported my dreams, I supported his. And then maybe 2 weeks later, maybe like 2 weeks later, after the grieving, and then after, like, I just get approached by the worship leader, and he's like, hey, I want to try you out on January, ending of January. Are you up for it? And I remember just my soul telling me like, nah, you don't, no, I don't think you're ready for it. Like, my soul said that, but then like verbally I'm like, yeah, let's do it, I'm in. And then I remember just praying to God, just telling him, okay, God, like, give me the strength to just kind of get back into this again, and get back into just worshiping. And because I felt in my heart that I'm like, honestly, like, if Melvin was around, like, he would not have wanted me to just not do anything. And that first Sunday comes, and that first Sunday happens, and I wake up that morning and I just have all these emotions in my head, because I'm like, God, how like how am I gonna do this? But then I remember just telling myself, like, I can't do this. So God, just be my strength for today. Let my strength be your strength, and just use me as you always have. And I remember just going on stage and just looking across, and the fact that I know he wasn't there, and it was amazing because I remember that my whole family was there for that day, and I shed a tear because I saw my family just being there, supporting. And literally after the first service, like, because it's at the time frame it was 3, but like after I did that first service, I just break down in the back because just of all the emotions and everything. And then from there, like, everything just, I got better. I started just learning to just ask for help from people, and just being vocal about your feelings and how you feel, because sometimes just keeping things bold inside can damage you a lot. And one of the things I just started to enjoy too was just how supportive the entire church was. And honestly, that broke the stereotypes that I felt at the time, because people have this idea that, like, just because you're in a big church that you can't have communion, or you can't see anybody, or the pastor won't come to you, or things like that. But no, that's where I'm at right now. Like, that's a lie, because during that whole process, the grieving, everybody just kept hitting me up, like talk to me, hey, how are you feeling? And I've been praying for you, and things like that. And I just felt so much support and felt so loved by the church, that to this day I still feel that to this day, that I am loved by the church. And then along the way, like, I just start making amazing friends, people that I've just started to love serving with. And yeah, from there, we just, after years of just kind of playing, like years of playing together and just worshiping together, we just one day just sat down and, hey, why don't we just start kind of doing these, let's just start getting together, like, after Sunday, outside of the building, and let's just worship together. And that's where, that's where Friends Who Worship begins, and that's where it starts from. It's just us just being together as a body, a church, just getting together, just worshiping Christ together, and honestly just letting him use us. And yeah, that's where I am right now in my life, chapter 5, where the fact is that I'm 31 right now, and God still uses me. God still allows me to serve him. The fact is that if I can go back and tell, like, 14-year-old Elias, when he gave his life to God and when he decided to pursue worship music, that if I could tell him anything, I would tell him, hey, like, everything that you're gonna do right now, it paid off. Like, everything that you're going to see, every moment you get frustrated, every time when you just feel like you're at your best, or even when you're at your worst, it paid off. Like, everything you're gonna do paid off. And I'm grateful for that, because the fact is that I'm able to be at this chapter of my life, and God still uses me, and I know he's going to continue to use me in this ministry and whatever he wants me to do. And I guess that's where I will conclude with, just, I'll call it my story. And the last thing I will just say is, just honestly, just, if God is calling you to do something, just do it. Don't be afraid, and don't feel embarrassed, because, like I said, I've seen a lot of things, and the fact is, if God can still use me, he can easily still use you. If God can use a random kid from Opalaka and just take him on this amazing journey, then he can still use you